to a diplomat. A diplomat is a person. A diplomat. Okay, sorry, I got distracted by the fire drill. Okay, so a diplomat, or using diplomatic means, is a way of talking things with other people. So when it says that this Queen Hatshepsut was known as a great diplomat, that means that she was the kind of person that would go to other leaders and be friendly and try to solve problems or address concerns through talking rather than just fighting, right? So you can tell she was a pretty good ruler. To gain respect, she dressed as a man. She wore a false beard and created statues of herself with the pharaoh's headdress. When her stepson took the throne, he made sure people knew there was a new leader in town. Okay, so the next paragraph right here. Out of all the ancient civilizations, Egypt's was the only one that really valued women, says Lexi de los Santos. She helps promote National Geographic exhibits. Egyptian women could own land, choose a husband, get divorced, and even govern. But after their rule, male leaders just erase all memory of these women because they don't want them to have all that success. That's from De Los Santos. That's what she said. Kara Cooney, an Egyptologist, wrote a book for National Geographic about the queens. She said these women were often used as protectors. Men would put women in high positions to keep young male leaders safe and give them time to mature. When a man was ready to take over as pharaoh, the woman in charge would step down. Addison noted that even after thousands of years, female leaders haven't gained a lot of ground. I think it was cool to see women in the place of men, she said. You don't see that a lot now. All right, so what she's saying is that a lot of these women pharaohs did amazing jobs, right? But a lot of times when they stepped down, men would go in there and the new leader would say, okay, yeah, I'm taking over from here, so let's go ahead and just like erase all the evidence that this woman did such a good job. And that's messed up, right? That's not fair. And even though Egypt was such a progressive society, especially with the role of women in society, you can see by this last quote that it says, you don't see that a lot now. These are things that we still deal with in today's society, right? If anything, this article should give you the idea that women can do virtually anything, including running a country and being incredibly successful. Right? It's one thing to run a country or to be a leader, but it's another thing to be an effective leader and actually do great things, right? Okay, so let's go to the question. Number 4 says, how does the author build an understanding of the new exhibit? So the person who wrote this article, how do they build an understanding of the new exhibit? Let's look at our selections and let's pick the correct one. I'm going to start with B. Is it by detailing a Girl Scouts experience in the exhibit and then ranking the exhibit features from most significant to least? Guys, did you read anything about Girl Scouts in here? Or did you?
No.
Huh?
No.
No, right? No, you didn't. Once more, the expectation is that the chat is used for on-task behaviors. Guys, let's keep the text chat related to what we're doing, guys, okay? I know the fire drill was very distracting, but we're going to keep it on engaged. So everyone's saying no. So you're correct. There's nothing in this article that talks about Girl Scouts. It doesn't talk about ranking the exhibits from significant to least significant. That's not in there. So you're right.
Also, Samuelson, what's a Girl Scout? To be honest, I have no idea.
Girl Scouts is an organization, kind of like how it's like a club.
So they sell cookies to your front door.
Yeah, but let's not get sidetracked, okay?
Okay.
Because I want to finish this. But yeah, it's an organization. It's a youth organization. All right, C, by explaining how artifacts for the exhibit were collected and then summarizing visitors' reactions to the hand-on exhibit features. Does the author do that? Anywhere in this article, does the author explain how these artifacts were collected?
No.
No. The author does. This is why this question is tricky. Because the author does summarize visitors' reactions, like Addison, right? He talks about their reactions, but nowhere in this article did it talk about how the artifacts were collected. It does mention that an archaeologist found a pair of shoes, stuff like that, but I agree with you. That is not a good answer. That doesn't answer the question. How does the author build an understanding of this exhibit? Let's look at D. By highlighting the most influential queens featured in the exhibit and then comparing them to male Egyptian leaders.
What question are we on?
We are on question 4. So, is that how the author built up this article to build up your understanding about these new exhibits? Did the author do it by highlighting the most influential queens in the exhibit and then comparing them to male leaders? No. So, Farah, unmute your microphone and explain why you think no, please, if you can, or in the text chat. So Farah says no, right? Or if someone else wants to add that too, you can in the text chat. Julian says it's got to be A. So we're going to explain why it's A though.
Because it's not like comparing other. Hold on a second.
Yes.
It's not comparing them to other male Egyptian leaders. And
Sure.
you know, A says by describing activity able to visitors, then providing historical information about women and featured the exhibit. They talked about women in the passage, especially in the exhibit, and they were also talking about visitors and then providing historical information. That's why I think it's A.
That was an awesome response. You were 100% correct. Okay, so just to go over what she said, because she gave us a lot of information. It was all correct. It was all awesome. Thank you. So yeah, it doesn't compare the queens to the male Egyptian leaders. What it does is say that the male Egyptian leaders oftentimes would take over and be like, okay, we got it from here, and then they would go and try to erase all evidence of success that these women leaders did, right? But it doesn't necessarily compare them to the male leaders, okay? And A is a much better answer because of what Farah had said. Let's read answer A. It says, by describing the activities available to visitors and then providing historical information about the women featured in the exhibit. That is accurate. What the author does is the author describes each activity that it mentions, right? And then it gives a little bit of information about each of the women that is brought up. For instance, Nefertiti, it talks about some of the artifacts. It talks about her stepson, right? It talks about, let's see, what else? We can look through here and see all types of stuff that he mentions. He or she mentions. It talks about Nefertiti, Isis, Ahmose, Hatshepsut, all the different legacies. So A is correct. So I'm going to put that in the text chat, and then we'll try to get these last 2 questions done, okay? Question 4. Answer is A. Boom, there you go. Whole lot of A. Yeah. All right, let's let's get through this next one. So we're going to answer questions 1 and 2 now. We should be able to do them fairly quickly because we've read the whole article. All right, number 1, read the following sentences from the article. And then what we're going to do is, what central idea does this evidence support? So what's the central idea of these sentences? Let's read them. Number 1, they traveled back in time and walked through the virtual tomb of Queen Nefertiti, principal wife of Ramses. Number 2, there are hands-on exhibit features, including jars that contain scents such as henna and lotus. You can pop them open and smell. And number 3, you can also play Senet, a board game similar to Chutes and Ladders that pharaohs played around 1550 BC. So these 3 sentences are talking about different exhibits. So let's look and find which answer we believe is correct. Again, this is question number 1. What's the central idea? Is it male Egyptian leaders tended to downplay the success of Egyptian queens? Now, it talked about that, but is that the central idea, guys? What do you think? The first one.
No.
These 3 sentences, is it talking about male Egyptian leaders and the shady things they used to do by trying to like downplay all the women's success? Is that what it's no, right? What about B?
It just tells you that they try downplaying the queens.
Yeah. It mentions that, but it's not the main idea. We might not finish these 4 questions, guys, but still do the power words for homework over the weekend. So let's look at B. Most visitors to the National Geographic Museum in Washington think of Cleopatra when asked to name a queen of ancient Egypt. Is that the main idea? Is that the central idea, guys?
No.
We're on 1. No, it's not. No worries. We're on question 1. Egypt was the most ancient civilization to consider women to be powerful. All right. We ran out of... Is that our bell? Yes, that is... No. We have 4 more minutes. We're good. All right. Let's look at C. Egypt was the only ancient civilization to consider women to be powerful and valuable. Now, that might be true at this time, but was that the main idea of these 3 sentences? Or is the main idea talking about exhibits here? So do you think it's C? Or is it D? D says a new exhibit at the National Geographic Museum in Washington, D.C. helps visitors learn about queens in Egypt. These 3 sentences, don't they seem like they're talking about exhibits? Virtual tomb, artifacts like jars and scents, and board games. It's D, right? You're correct, Julian. Yeah, it's D. I'm going to copy and paste that in the chat.